It is August 12th where I am, and that means we are officially at 19 days away. 19 days, that's less than 20 days. We are officially at 19 days. Hello, everybody. Whoa, am I excited? 19 days. We're very close now. We're very close, less than 3 weeks away. Um, bring on my calendar here. That's two more Tuesdays. Two more Tuesdays. We just gotta get through two more Tuesdays. And by that third Tuesday, we will be there. Quite literally 19 days. So we're almost there. Now, I wanted to discuss something that I made a video about earlier, but didn't get to go in depth about. So I wanted to talk about the main villain or the main protagonist in the Metal Gear franchise. Excuse me, like always. And I think before I get into this discussion about who the main villain is or who the main antagonist is, I think it's important to know about Kojima's history and know a little bit about him as a person. I've done my fair share of watching documentaries and reading about Kojima because I find them fascinating. And it's interesting to note that when he was in college, he was a huge film buff. Supposedly, he used to stay up all night just watching films, just 24/7, a film addict. I believe he even studied it a bit, and then he went into marketing, got a degree in business or something of the sort, and he ended up in Konami. Uh, he was then transferred into the video game development section of the company, and they used to make fun of him in that section because he didn't know how to make a video game. Like he never went to school for that. That's not what he went to school for. That's not what he was into. So they used to always poke fun at him and tell him that he should at least finish one game before he died, because nobody thought he'd be able to do it because he wasn't trained in that. But I gather that the reason they moved him there was because they saw that the man was a fucking genius. You know what I mean? Like he worked in other parts of the company, but they thought he would be better suited for the video game team because he's a genius. Like there's no other way around it. So he learned on the fly. He learned how to make video games on the fly while he was there. And he did release a video game. The first one was some penguin game. I don't know. I've seen footage of it. Never played it, but I've seen footage of it, and it looks like it'd probably do good in the mobile world today. But that was released in the early, like, maybe late 80s, early 80s, which was the first technical Kojima game. And then after that, we got Metal Gear. So I'm going to be going over the big boss games because those are the games that are on my channel right now, and I'm going to discuss why I believe the true villain or the true antagonist is technology. So, like I said, it was important to note that he was a huge film buff and he didn't necessarily play video games because he didn't know how to make them. He used to stay up at night in college watching film. He's a huge film buff, and that's very apparent if you play the games. He is constantly referencing film, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Phantom Pain has a huge reference to just a bunch of films. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But we're going to start with the big boss games because those are the games that are on my channel, and you could feel free to watch. Um, I'm not going to talk about Metal Gear Solid 4 and how technology is the big evil there, because in order to do that, I would have to talk about Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid 2, and I haven't played those games. So I'm mostly going to talk about the big boss games. So spoilers, if you haven't watched me play Metal Gear Solid 3, if you haven't done yourself the huge favor and played Metal Gear Solid 3 yourself, or Peace Walker, or Ground Zeroes, excuse me, then do yourself the favor and play those games if you don't know how to play video games and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. It takes too much skill or whatever the heck. Skill, by the way, this instrument. Anyway, if you don't want to do that, then I suggest you just watch my channel. Um, anyway, back to what I was saying. So we're gonna start with Metal Gear Solid 3, and obviously the story in that, spoilers. So do yourself a favor, play the games or watch some videos. Watch mine, preferably. Metal Gear Solid 3, we all know the story. If you're still here, hopefully you're still here. We all know the story. You know, the boss defects to Russia. There's a nuke and blah blah blah. But here's why technology is the main villain in that game. Now everything was going according to plan until the boss decided to give the Davy Crockett's to Vogan, and then Vogan uses the Davy Crockett's, which blows up a huge part of Russian land, and that's where the problems start, right there. Now, if you look at it, the problem there is that nukes were too powerful. So technology is at fault for that. It's technology's fault for the boss dying. And the only reason the boss or Snake were there in the first place is because of the United States fear that Russia had a nuke and the United States fear of the Russian space program, both being huge technological advances. So again, technology is to blame for this. Metal Gear Solid 3 would not happen if technology was not involved, which is also a hell of a metaphor for how the video games themselves wouldn't happen if the technology was not involved. um, then we played Peace Walker. Now, Peace Walker, there's technology in the idea that there's nukes in uh, Nicaragua. I believe there's supposed to be nukes in Nicaragua, and that's where the issue comes. But the big deal with technology there is what Strangelove does, because Strangelove is able to bring the boss back to life, and is able to have all these things with the mammal pod and all of that stuff. And that again makes technology the villain of the game. The whole reason the boss even Big Boss even goes to Nicaragua is because he hears a tape, which again technology. Here's the tape of the boss's voice. And now he wouldn't have gone if he didn't hear the boss's voice. And how was the boss still alive if she died in Metal Gear Solid 3? It's because it was a technological advance that made her survive through the mammal pod. So yet again, the main villain in Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker is technology. And then we go forward to Ground Zeroes, and we see that Chico has something implanted in his chest. Like that's like one of the first things we see, and again we see the cassette tape advancements in technology for it being the 70s, or I believe that takes place in the 80s, but that's still pretty cutting edge tech. And then as the story progresses, we know that Paz has bombs injected inside of her, and again technology because there's small bombs, and then there's the bombs, and again technology. And then when Mother Base gets taken over, it gets taken over because they were going to check if they had nukes. It was a nuclear inspection. So again, if they didn't have the nukes, which is a technological advance, then they would not have been checked. Then none of that would have happened to Mother Base. And also there's the discussion that Paz has in the end of Peace Walkers about controlling guns, about a new technology. So yet again, there's technology being the root of all evil in the Metal Gear Solid games. And the reason I think technology is the root of all evil in the Metal Gear Solid games is because Hideo doesn't want to make video games. He wants to make movies. And I think that's why the games are so stellar to us who play them. Because we get to interact with a movie, basically. We get to decide how the scenes look. We get to play them out using, our instrument. And that's what separates video games from movies. So even though Kojima, in his infinite wisdom, made this game about technology being an evil, and uses high grade technology because video games themselves are moving technology forward, it's still the evil of the franchise because he would rather make movies. You see what I'm saying? And technology, it's all a gigantic metaphor for saying how video games and technology itself is evil. You're controlling the artist's vision, and the game developers have to give us freedom as video game players. So they have to kind of relinquish their art. They have to make it so that maybe they could get their point across, maybe not, because we are the video game players and we decide what we do. And I think that's ultimately the message of Metal Gear in a very cryptic way, is that technology is evil. And that Kojima would rather be creating movies. I think it's a genius way of doing it, and I think it gets deeper than that. I only have 10 minutes, and I didn't really think this through. Maybe I'll make another discussion about this on another day, because I only got like 20 seconds left here. So I'm going to be wrapping it up. But those are just some examples from the playthroughs that I've done and the evil that technology has done in the world of Metal Gear. I'll try to get more deep into it later, maybe on another day. V for victory. Less than 20 days. Less than 20 days. We're almost there.